All in all, it's not going to be a bad afternoon out there with temperatures in the 40s and low 50s, especially the farther south and east you go. Some 30s though up in northwestern South Dakota, but at least it isn't going to be as windy as yesterday. Overnight low temperatures tonight dropping into the 20s, a few upper teens again up to the northwest, but beyond that, it's going to be just about it. We have a few small chances for moisture now and again, including tonight for a few. We'll talk about that coming up, but until then, midday in KELOLAND. It starts right now.
Live from KELOLAND Media Group, midday in KELOLAND.
Senator John Thune reveals he is aiming for a higher position in the Senate GOP. Plus,
the Supreme Court says states cannot bar former President Trump from the ballot. I'm Skylar Henry outside the High Court detailing the justice's unanimous decision.
Well, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Tom Hansen. South Dakota's John Thune, currently the Republican Party's whip in the Senate, tells KELOLAND News that he is looking to replace Senator Mitch McConnell. The longest-serving Senate Republican leader announced that he's ready to step aside in November.
Do you want to be Senate Majority or Minority Leader?
Well, I hope to be, and I'm going to do everything I can to convince my colleagues. They're the voters. They're the ones who ultimately make the decision. But that as we look at a new generation of consistent, principled, conservative leadership in the United States Senate that empowers our Senate Republicans, that puts a check and balance against the Schumer, what has been a very liberal Schumer-Biden agenda. I'm prepared to lead that effort. Most people don't hear.
Now, we'll have much more from Thune, including what he has to say about former President Donald Trump's candidacy for the White House later tonight on KELOLAND News. We have more information about a 60-year-old man who died after being hit by a van in Pierre. The Department of Public Safety says 57-year-old man was driving a Dodge Caravan along Euclid Avenue Friday morning when he had a seizure and blacked out. Now, the van left the road and hit Rocky Bowker of Eagle Butte before crashing into a fence at an apartment building. Bowker died as a result of his injuries. The driver of the van was not hurt. South Dakota Highway Patrol is investigating. Turning now to a first look at your midday forecast with meteorologist Adam Rutt. What's going on out there, Adam?
It's not windy.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good thing.
Exactly. I didn't need as much hair gel this time around to go outside this time. But we actually do have a few things we're keeping an eye on over the next couple of days. Nothing significant, but it's better than just the monotony of a quiet, dry day every day. We do like a little bit of variety here in the Weather Center. 42, there's a view downtown. North wind at 13 miles per hour. So yeah, a little breezy, but like I said, yesterday was objectively worse in terms of that wind. Meanwhile, out in Rapid City, yeah, it's a little bit cooler. They're at 39. Yeah, it's also a little breezier with a south wind of 17 miles per hour, but they have a little more sunshine out that way, so a little bit of a give and take out in western portions of South Dakota versus over here to the east. We have a few 20s out there. 23 in Mobridge, 27 in Faith, 26 Buffalo, and Pierre, 29 for Phillip. But from there, we try to at least warm up just a smidge. 32 for Spearfish, Huron, and Watertown. 42, as we say here in Sioux Falls. 44 leading the way right now in Spencer. 41 Yankton, 40 in Pine Ridge. But compared to yesterday, yeah, it is chillier in many locations, especially east of I-29. They were able to tap in on a rather warm day. Spencer almost hit 70. Worthington and Marshall got into the 60s. So it's a more pronounced difference the farther east you go, to a lesser extent towards, say, Pierre and Mobridge. Speaking of Pierre, west of the capital, we do have at least a few returns on radar in the form of some snow showers, but with the air being as dry as it has been as of late, little, if any, of that is actually making its way to ground level over toward Hockin County. So it's kind of there for show more than anything else. Through the rest of your afternoon, beyond that, will be pretty quiet. A little breezy, but not as windy as Sunday. Highs will range from the mid-40s to low 50s in southeastern KELOLAND, including a 50-degree reading today here in Sioux Falls. For the northeast, a little bit chillier, though it's at least close to average. Upper 30s and low to mid-40s for much of the northeastern portion of KELOLAND. And out west, we'll see kind of a little bit of everything. Mid to upper 40s the farther south you go toward the border with Nebraska. But 30s, though, popping up more and more once you hit Spearfish points north into Belfouche. Buffalo, Bison, Faith, even over toward Mulberry and Eureka. We'll talk about the rest of your 7-day forecast coming up in a little bit.
Thank you very much. Well, what some say is the nation's first and only indoor dog water park is right here in South Dakota. The Splash Bark opened in 2020 and welcomes dogs of all breeds and sizes. Owner Terry Jo Oline says the idea came to her after watching her own kids playing at a water park. The dogs can play in the water or relax next to their owners. A tiki bar is also on site for both human and canine enjoyment.
I like unique things. I like something different and new and exciting, and it's a challenge. So there wasn't anything to compare it to in the country.
Now, the park is open weekly and available for private rentals. Coming up tonight at 10, we'll have more about the work that went into creating this one-of-a-kind experience. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled former President Donald Trump cannot be disqualified from running for a second term in office because of his conduct surrounding the January 6th Capitol assault. The unanimous decision found Colorado's Supreme Court ruling was wrong. Skylar Henry reports from Washington.
The nation's highest court handed former President Donald Trump a unanimous victory, ruling that Colorado cannot keep him off the ballot for the 2024 presidential election.
The rationale here really is we don't want states to be able to do this.
At issue was a narrow Colorado Supreme Court decision in a case brought by voters, arguing Trump should be removed from the state's ballots because he committed insurrection on January 6th and was disqualified under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which states, "No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office who took an oath and then engaged in insurrection."
We saw what happened when Donald Trump was on the ballot for president and lost. He refused to concede and ultimately incited a violent insurrection.
But during oral arguments in early February, the justices seemed skeptical whether states can use the obscure constitutional provision to kick Trump off the ballot, rather than leaving it up to Congress. The court didn't weigh in on whether January 6th was an insurrection or whether former President Trump engaged in it. The justices instead focused on the structural issue, whether courts can go out on their own and enforce this Civil War-era provision, and the unanimous answer was no, they cannot.
Without Congress helping us figure out who engaged in an insurrection, whether or not there's a problem, whether or not somebody has been found liable, guilty, whatever it is, it's not up to one state to do it. Congress needs to set the rules here.
In a social media post, the current GOP presidential frontrunner called the Supreme Court decision a big win for America. Trump still faces criminal cases surrounding the events of January 6th. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.